Webinar titled Secure and Protect Enterprise Data. Today's presenters are Mark Hebert, COO Estuate, and Cindy Fung, Product Manager with the IBM Product Information Integration and Governance team. Mark joined Estuate in December 2008 as its first Chief Operating Officer. From 2006 through 2008, he was the first Chief Marketing Officer for Virtusa Corporation, a publicly traded IT services firm. Cindy is a product manager with the IBM Information Integration and Governance team. In this role, she is responsible for working with IBM business partners to develop strategies to reach out to new markets and customers. She has been meeting with business partners and customers around the world to understand their business challenges and requirements to protect and secure sensitive personal private information, as well as companies' business and intellectual properties. We will be emailing a link to the recorded webinar to all that registered. Thank you, Mark and Cindy, for presenting, and I'll turn the webinar over to you now.
Thank you very much, Mike. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our regular bi-monthly series of webinars on important data management topics. Today we have a really hot topic that large customers and smaller organizations alike are getting more and more concerned about and acting on, and it's the whole topic of database data level security. I'm going to spend a few minutes on talking about the environment and the challenges that it poses. I'm going to turn it over to Cindy to talk about emerging best practices in this area from the experience and product strategy that IBM has been pursuing in this area, which is a leading strategy according to Gartner. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can move forward and implement a more comprehensive approach to data security with the help of your friends, Estuate and IBM. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about the backdrop here. The whole area of security is exploding, and it is, I think, the data stupid, to go back to a political phrase from some time ago. We are seeing a real explosion, not only in the whole area of data growth, but in the illegal activity associated with accessing secure data and sensitive data. A recent study that was just published by the Norton division of Symantec suggests that cybercrime is becoming a $400 billion a year problem. At that size, it exceeds the aggregate size of the illegal drug industry worldwide. It's becoming a problem that is more and more out of control. Traditionally, the problem of data security has been viewed as a firewall issue substantially, so that the general approach to securing corporate data was to build a bubble or a wall around the corporate infrastructure where the data resided inside, and we protected it in aggregate, in an accumulated way, by setting up good firewalls. Increasingly, however, those firewalls are vulnerable. You can see in the news every day the success that Chinese hackers are having within corporate firewalls themselves, not just government firewalls. And so trade secrets are leaking out the door, and so is data. The other problem, however, is not just from the outside, but also from within. It turns out that a lot of data breaches within the corporate world are through privileged users, and so the firewall itself is useless, and a better, more comprehensive approach is required. On top of that, what we're also seeing is that data is no longer just residing within the corporate infrastructure. Increasingly, especially in this era of big data, data sources are residing outside of the corporate infrastructure, in the cloud, and some of the data sources themselves are coming from outside and being brought in. Again, that argues for a more comprehensive approach. On top of that, we're sort of in a perfect storm here, in that there is an increasing regulatory environment that's being superimposed on top of these growing risks. So as data proliferates, governments are exerting more and more regulatory influence. And it's not just in the U.S., even though we have plenty. You can see from this slide that many countries, emerging and developed countries, have their own sets of regulatory environments that are being imposed. And so any company that's doing business internationally, and it's increasingly the case, has to deal with the regulatory world globally as well. And that's particularly true in industries like financial services with with the credit card standards, the payment card industry's data security standard, PCI DSS, is being imposing increasing regulatory requirements. For example, those laws require that real credit cards not be used any longer for test and development purposes. So that imposes increasing requirements on IT organizations who have multiple copies of production for their non-production purposes. Similarly, in the healthcare industry, we've had what's called HIPAA around for the last 15-plus years. That's the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. That imposes real requirements on healthcare institutions and insurers around the access to private data by individuals. So it turns out that about 2/3 of all of the security initiatives by corporations today are being done in response to this compliance environment, not just from internal purposes as well. And then lastly, the last component of this perfect storm is the new era of big data, whether it's the Hadoop data platform or some other configuration that involves the collection and analysis of huge amounts of data. We're seeing increasingly that data coming in within the corporate environment in a structured way is being supplemented with a lot of unstructured data and streaming data from the outside being brought into very large environments for analytics purposes. That that imposes much more security risk in that whole process, and so now we're sort of having to ask more and more intrusive questions. Where are these big data requests coming from? How is each data stream being protected? And how are we handling the non-production use of that data as well for development, test, QA, training purposes? While we're having exceptions to the access of that data, how are we managing those exceptions, particularly for privileged users? And so how do we monitor the access to that data to make sure that whoever is accessing it is properly authorized? And so on and so forth. So we're in an environment now where the risks are getting compounded in this perfect storm. Lastly, before I hand it over to Cindy, I want to just point out that the cost of all of this is growing exponentially. So a few statistics. There is now a very large body of security breaches that are being documented. You can see getting close to 1,000 breaches in the current environment in large corporate environments. Each one of those breaches is very expensive on average, multi-million dollars to correct the breach, and multi-million dollars in the loss of business and customer loyalty and so on that goes along with the effect of a breach. And so the compliance cost in this whole area is also a multi-million dollar problem for large corporations and is growing for smaller businesses as well. And this calls for a more comprehensive but more efficient approach. And so that leads us to the whole area of best practices and what are companies like IBM who have thought leadership and product leadership in this area, what are they doing and what can you use to get your arms around this problem? And I'll turn it over now to Cindy, and she's going to walk us through some of those best practices. Cindy?
Thank you very much, Mark. Really appreciate the intro. So today I really wanted to go over some of the basic steps that we have provided solutions for to help customers really secure and protect their data. So let me just go through this chart and the few basic steps. You could see that it seems like it's going to be an intimidating project, and sometimes organizations could feel overwhelmed. Where do they start? This is very understandable and somewhat common. It is best to start small. That's what we recommend, with manageable projects, and build from there. Keep in mind that each of these steps, you would want full transparency to auditors. Find solutions which offer this transparency via built-in reports. Providing that audit trail and reporting mechanism is one of the key to demonstrate success. The 4 steps listed here are mask, encrypt, monitor, and assess, represent the primary path of a security strategy. So let's take a look at some examples of how you could leverage the steps. Let's say you're developing a new analytic platform or application. You will likely spend many hours on development work and performing functional or performance testing. To improve the security of these projects, you should really mask the data. And mask the data that's being used in a non-production environment. Oftentimes when I visit customers, their focus is on production data, which is very important, but there's a large element of data that's unprotected, and that's in the non-production environment. There's no reason why actual customer data or sensitive information should be used in development and test, and that's not protected. After your development activities are completed, you will roll out the changes into production, and it makes for a very easy step to move forward. So take a minute to think about the security of the production environment. Are you encrypting the data in your database warehouses? Encrypting production data will go a long way towards your strategy of holistic data security and compliance. And often customers, through encryption, would enable safe harbor provisions. What does this mean? Essentially, if there's a breach, these provisions state that you do not have to report a breach if the data is encrypted. So, you provide that extra layer of protection and also protect your company's brand. Next comes monitoring. Do you have 100% visibility into database transactions or data warehouses? Getting this kind of visibility will help you understand the who, what, when, how, and where of data transactions for both external users as well as inside traffic. This intelligence will help you block suspicious transactions in real time, and that's a key element that you need to be able to block it in real time and provide a basis for establishing access policies. Step 4 is to assess how are you doing. Take a closer look at your production and non-production databases and warehouses. Are there open vulnerabilities you can address easily? For example, are there misconfigurations or default settings? Next chart. So what are the next steps to secure enterprise data and ensure compliance? So what are the steps required to complete a data security and compliance strategy? So let's continue with our example. It is time to take an expanded view of your production environment. You should lock down these database sources which are powering your key applications. But are there others? Can you provide a comprehensive list of data sources across your enterprise? This is where discovery comes in. You will want to crawl through your network and identify all data sources and understand relationships between the data. Now that you have a complete inventory of your enterprise data, you will want to convene a meeting of the minds. Bring together IT and business leaders for a discussion. As a team, establish a common vocabulary for sensitive data. What business data do we need to define and protect? For example, client lists or revenue numbers, or both. Are these definitions, after these definitions are set, your organizations will have a consistent enterprise-wide understanding of sensitive data types. You can next define policies based on this understanding for how this data will be treated based on government, industry mandates, or internal rules and policies. Having such a common vocabulary in place means you could classify data as it comes into the enterprise. The next step is redaction. Some of the sensitive data you identify and define likely exists in documents and forms. You could leverage an automated redaction solution to ensure that data is kept safe. You will want to redact or remove information if you using a document to communicate with third parties like press, business partners, legal teams, etc. Finally, no security and compliance solution will be complete without fraud detection. Be able to answer these questions. Who is who knows who does what. Next chart. So the next few charts, we will explore the best practices in more detail. So looking at this example, how do you locate and inventory the databases across the enterprise? You can't protect data you don't know where it resides. So ensure your solution can help you discover and document the data entities and the databases that reside in the enterprise. Next step is to identify sensitive data and classify them. Proactively prevent unintended disclosure of sensitive data. I think just last week we heard that Facebook, again, unintentionally disclosed sensitive private information of the 6 million users. So to identify and classify those data elements, national IDs, such as social security number, credit card numbers, salary information, health information, key business data, like not only customer data, but your company's key business data, corporate secrets, financials, and other sensitive data as defined by the business. Another step is to understand the relationships required for identifying compound sensitive data. How is sensitive data related to other areas across the enterprise? Ensure it is protected everywhere and consistently. Define and document the privacy and masking rules and propagate to ensure sensitive data will be protected. How is that data going to be used? Who should have access to it and why? Document and manage ongoing data privacy and masking requirements. When masking sensitive data, ensure it is masked appropriately per business rules and processes. For example, for test data, IT organizations should be able to focus on testing the application, not testing the data in those applications. Next chart. IBM has a very strong product, an industry-leading product called Guardium, InfoSphere Guardium. It provides real-time data activity monitoring for security and compliance. What Guardium provides is it expands database security to monitor and audit 100% of big data transactions, or all transactions to databases. First, we are the first to market with security for big data systems, and Guardium helps organizations to understand the who, what, when, and how of all databases, warehouses, file share, and Hadoop-based system transactions. With a complete access history, clients will understand the data and application access patterns, prevent data leakage, enforce data change controls, and respond to suspicious transactions real time on all database systems, including Hadoop. InfoSphere Guardium provides built-in audit reporting to demonstrate compliance, to quickly ensure compliance and show auditors your compliance. A secure, centralized repository containing a fine-grained audit trail of all activities across your systems is available, as well as customizable workflow automation to generate compliance reports on a scheduled basis, distribute them to oversight teams for electronic emails, and escalation and document the results of remediation activities without the need to enable native audit functions. Next chart. So another element is masking of data. You want to be able to mask the data at any time, at anywhere. So in the new era of computing, clearly organizations need to harness the power of information and analytics to be competitive and gain business advantage. Business leaders are turning to data warehouse platforms and business analytics solutions to generate insights into their operations and gain more value from client opportunities. Using these technologies make a significant impact, but what about security of these systems? How can big data platforms be protected? How about the security of data contained in them? What if the data is misused or security parameters are breached? InfoSphere Optum Masking on Demand brings flexibility, scalability, adaptability to data masking by helping organizations to first understand where the sensitive data exists, mask data in the databases, warehouses, and big data environments, mask data in both production and non-production environments. And this is one element that I emphasize quite a bit on my travels, that there's actually greater risk of unintended exposure from non-production environments because they tend to be overlooked, and this is a very key element in securing and protecting your enterprise-wide data. Another piece is masking data on demand in applications or business reports to support real-time decision-making, masking data in the cloud. So those are all key elements of where you can mask data at anywhere at any time. Next chart. Masking data as it moves in and out of the big data environment. Very few data security technologies can simultaneously protect data while preserving its usefulness. Data masking provides us data security by replacing sensitive information with a non-sensitive substitute, but doing so in such a way that the copy of the data looks and acts like the original. You remove the risk without breaking the business. Adopting a policy-driven, on-demand masking approach to proactively protect data privacy and support compliance is especially critical in a new era of computing where data is everywhere. So what if we could provide semantically intact data? Comparing the utility value of data, which will provide results in accurate and consistent results from aggregate analytics while ensuring that no individual entity can be identified. The research by IBM's Zurich Research Labs provides a way to ensure data is swapped in a way that the original person or entity cannot be identified. But based on rules and the context of the analysis, we can ensure that the results are accurate. Let's consider a scenario. If a large healthcare company wants to know if financial status, i.e. the standard of living of a family, has anything to do with the propensity for the family members to get diabetics, they would need significant volume of patient data to be able to reach a conclusion. They could get the data from all the subsidiaries of the company and across the world. So what is this semantic masking solution? They could look at the parameters that impact the disease, age, ethnicity, and sex. The algorithms would ensure that these values are swapped within a defined set of alternate values automatically. They may want to keep track of income brackets less than 50K annual income, or 50 to 100K, and over 100K to define the potential diet habits, and the algorithms could be asked to respect these brackets. The expectation would be to ensure that it is impossible to identify the income brackets individually, but still come up with the right answer. Next chart. Just taking a sip of water, my mouth is getting dry. So how do we do flexible data masking to support diverse business requirements? InfoSphere Optum Masking on Demand provides that flexibility and the options. So no matter your use case, Optum delivers the benefits to the organization, delivering a scalable masking to databases, applications, and reports. Next chart. Transforming sensitive data to protect privacy. So let's get a deeper understanding of the techniques for transforming data. The Guardian data redaction is centered around protecting sensitive, unstructured data found in documents and forms. The redaction process consists of 5 steps. First, we examine the document using an OCR technique to identify and extract text and textual entities from documents. Common images include PDF, TIFF, documents. After we identify and extract the text, we break apart and parse the data. Text is fragmentized to enable the next step, which is to identify sensitive data. Then sensitive information is identified so that the tool can provide the user with candidate suggestions for redaction. Once sensitive information is identified and recognized, it is deleted and replaced with redacted sections shown in black bars or any color the user chooses. Finally, the document is recreated with the sensitive information removed. The original document is left unmodified. This is a copy of the original document, but now it is redacted. Data encryption is different from redaction because it is a two-way approach to data protection. Encryption is a process of transforming information referred to as plain text using an algorithm called a cipher to make it unreadable to anyone except those processing with special knowledge, usually referred to as a key. The result of the process is encrypted information in cryptography referred to as ciphertext. In many contexts, the word encryption is also implicitly referred to on the reverse process, to decryption, to make the encrypted information readable again and making it unencrypted. Next chart. In order to prevent data breaches, organizations really should be able to monitor transactions by both privileged and regular users across the entire enterprise, including mainframes, transactions from applications such as Oracle, SAP, to databases, as well as transactions in the cloud environment in both production and non-production environments. IBM can help you secure the data throughout the enterprise in physical, virtual cloud, and big data environments. This approach needs to be based on roles and an understanding of who is viewing the data. So as you can see in this chart, that you can easily monitor privileged users and detect who's using, who's viewing the sensitive data, or who has hijacked access of a privileged user to view that sensitive data. It's a protection for many DBAs to be able to demonstrate that the ID is hijacked and the DBA is not really the one that's performing the unauthorized view of the data. Next chart. So to combat fraud, combat threat and detect fraud, definitely take advantage of a product we have called Entity Analytics with Identity Insights. So we could establish who with the same entity and context and be able to track that perpetually and mask the identities that identify the hidden relationships and fraudulent or threatening behavior, and determine that in a non-obvious way across multiple degrees and really detect the unsavory activities instantly and alert on suspicious activities. Next chart. So in summary, Infosphere provides a complete data protection approach. So let's take a look at the security compliance solution. It consists of 5 components designed to cover all the angles of data security and privacy, ranging from finding where it exists across the enterprise with discovery and classify, to handling non-production data, masking data, to database monitoring, encrypting, and data redaction for unstructured data. IBM's capabilities in the data security and privacy help cover different aspects of an organization's privacy needs, regardless of how the data is being used and where it is stored. In effect, we offer companies a 360-degree holistic view to protect the entire enterprise and all its usages. Next chart. So IBM's InfoSphere solutions for data security and privacy are designed to support this holistic approach, helping your organizations to protect itself against a complex threat landscape while remaining focused on your business goals. So understanding where the data exists, safeguarding sensitive data, both structured and unstructured, protect non-production environments as well as production, secure and continuously monitor accesses to your data across the entire enterprise, as well as demonstrate compliance and pass audits easily, quickly, and cost efficiently. Those are the things that we could help customers deliver and save customers money. And you could see some of the ROI factors that we brought in to help customers justify the business returns on this endeavor. Next chart. This is an example of a customer, a major global bank. We essentially help them save $1.5 million a year on storage costs and reduce costs in terms of compliance by $20 million. What are their needs? Basically, they need to ensure privacy and integrity of all critical enterprise data, their financial and HR data, ERP data, credit card data, personal private information data, strategic and intellectual property data information, and to be able to address PCI, SOX, international data privacy laws, and internal standards. The environment that they're running contains SQL Server, Oracle, Sybase, DB2, DB2 on Z, on I, Informix, MySQL, Teradata, and a range of operating systems on Solaris, HP UX, AIX, Windows, Linux, and now they're monitoring over 2,000 database instances. The alternatives they consider was native logging and auditing from Oracle, and Semantic ESM plus products from smaller vendors. The results that we delivered to this customer was a savings of $1.5 million a year in storage costs for native audit trails, saved $20 million plus by using Guardian as compensating control for data encryption for PCI compliance. And Guardian now is a standard part of the bank infrastructure, and we also help them implement culture change in terms of awareness of data security and new processes to investigate insider threats. Next chart. As Mark alluded to earlier, IBM InfoSphere, Guardian, and Optum are considered and ranked #1 amongst the analysts, and you could see that we are always on the top right-hand corner of the Magic Quadrants. So you could see that we deliver scalable options compared to Imperva, and we have a much broader portfolio against Informatica, and have much deeper depth and breadth of solutions, and provide strong strategic vision on how to deliver security and compliance that can help customers to comply more easily and readily. And that we provide a very efficient and real-time monitoring on Oracle databases. Mark, back to you.
Thank you so much, Cindy. That was terrific. And as an implementer of data security solutions, we are particularly enamored with the IBM solution set that Cindy so clearly laid out here, simply because it really is the only true enterprise platform, integrated platform for doing database security in the industry. And as you can see from the Gartner reports, IBM has done a very nice job of assembling from components an integrated platform with a clear vision and best practices. We are one of the largest implementers of these solutions. We have executed over 75 projects in the last 5 years around data security with a really strong focus on Guardium and Optum data privacy. And so the combination of IBM and Estuate together is really a terrific partnership. The approach that we take for doing this, you can sort of think of as sort of a 3-layered nested strategy that kind of corresponds with 3 different components in this IBM platform. And so for enterprises large and small, this is an approach that can be done in a comprehensive way from the top down, or in a piecemeal way from the bottom up. And the idea here is that you can start off without really knowing where your data is, and in fairly short order, systematically go about discovering where your databases are using the Guardium tool. So by installing Guardium in your enterprise, you can quickly catalog where all your databases are, both production and non, and then develop monitoring rules for them. Once you've identified where the databases are, you can then introspect them using the InfoSphere Discovery product to identify where the sensitive data elements are that need to be masked and controlled. By applying discovery to individual databases, you can quickly zero in on where the data is that is sensitive, and then you import that introspected data model into the Optum product for desensitizing or masking that data in non-production environments, and even as appropriate in production environments. So this 3-step approach actually can be done quite quickly in an individual set of projects, and also top-down as an overall corporate standard. And we're very happy to talk to you about how to go about doing this in an efficient way so that you can get the kind of savings that Cindy is alluding to and get the security and privacy benefits even with good ROI. Very happy to follow up with you on that if anyone is interested in discussion. And that ends our prepared presentation, and let me stop there, turn it back to Mike, and open it up for questions.
Great, thank you, Mark and Cindy for presenting. Like Mark said, we'll open it up to Q&A. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the questions area, and we'll get them answered. Here's our first question: how long does it typically take a company to implement database security monitoring for its key databases?
So that methodology that I just described can be done surprisingly quickly. I'm going to talk about a modest-sized company, say, and this 3-step process. You can install Guardium and introspect those databases in a matter of, I would say, a month or less, 2 to 4 weeks. Then the process of introspecting those databases for data security can also be done quite quickly, again, in a matter of weeks. And then the process of masking that data can also be done. So we like projects that are 3 months in duration or less, and the process of doing a top-down approach can be done quite efficiently. Now, if it's a large corporate implementation, with thousands of databases, then the project would probably last quite a bit longer than that, but we would break it up into chunks that would be 1 to 3 month chunks, so that you get benefits along the way without having to do a big bang approach that's a multi-year strategy that's multi-millions of dollars.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mark. Next question: how much effort does it take to effectively mask sensitive data in a large ERP system?
So the masking process itself, because you get a lot of out-of-the-box masking algorithms with Optum, and actually templates that go along with that for the leading ERP systems, Oracle eBusiness Suite, Siebel, PeopleSoft, JD Edwards, SAP. Again, these projects tend to be 3 months of duration or less, to get to masking the key sensitive data elements in the key modules of an ERP system. It's amazingly efficient.
Great. Thanks, Mark. Next question. How would these tools protect a company targeted by Chinese hackers trying to steal company secrets?
So that kind of brings us back around to the phenomenon of the day, the politics of the day, and I guess I would just summarize all this by saying that the traditional approach of having a firewall that you're trying to protect outside hackers from has clearly not been entirely successful, as we're seeing from the daily breaches in the news. And so what we're talking about here now is sort of layering on top of that traditional firewall approach a more comprehensive and integrated strategy that surrounds the individual databases with monitoring, with access rules, and with a particular emphasis on desensitizing the data itself so that you're reducing the risk. So that even if a Chinese hacker gets in, the damage that can be done is minimized and it is caught faster so that we react more quickly. So we're not saying that with this platform that a Chinese hacker is not going to be able to break in, but it now gives us layers of security and response that didn't exist before, with a fairly modest cost, with a fairly quick implementation.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mark. To the attendees, if you have any questions after this webinar, there's Mark's information there on the screen. Feel free to email him or call him. We've also recorded this webinar, so we'll have it available on Estuate's website in the next couple of days or so. Also, please stay tuned for our next, we often have quarterly or monthly, right, Mark? Webinars.
Bi-monthly, yeah, every 2 months.
Bi-monthly that we broadcast through email and also on the website. So please stay tuned for that, and please join us at our next bi-monthly webinar. Thank you again to the attendees for attending, and thank you, Cindy and Mark, for presenting. Mark and Cindy, I'll leave the last word with you today.
I think we've said it all. Thank you, Mike. We appreciate your attendance.
Okay. Great.
Yeah,
thank you all for attending. Have a great day. Bye-bye.